Hey friends, welcome back to Daily Sews and Stuff. I'm Brandolyn Daly, and today we're talking about the 5 don'ts of projector sewing. I love pattern projecting. I think it is such an improvement over using paper patterns of any kind. But there are definitely some things that you want to think about before you start. And these are our 5 don'ts. Number 1, don't jump in without doing at least a little bit of research first. I know that people can hear about projector sewing and get super excited and want to jump right in, and they just go buy a projector, whatever their friend has or whatever the person they saw posting has or whatever, and then they get it and it's not quite right. It doesn't work for their situation and they're not loving it. And I want to make sure that you love pattern projecting and you love your projector and you love this process. And in order to make sure you love it, you got to make sure you get the right projector first. I have a video called Choosing a Projector. Now listen, I have learned a lot since this video, and there's actually a lot of information in the introduction to my video about Amazon projectors that might work out even better than that original video about choosing a projector. I also have this graphic that I've made that is super helpful, and there is a section on my website that talks about choosing projectors. The Projectors for Sewing Facebook group has a guide for choosing a projector, and there are plenty of other resources out there that will help you choose which projector is right for you. I know it can kind of get overwhelming, and some people don't want to do any research, they just want to pick and buy. Can't really relate because I love to do research, and in fact the research is almost more fun than the actual buying to me sometimes, but I do understand because my husband is very much like that. He just wants to kind of buy it and use it. So if that's you, take a few minutes first to go ahead and at least look at this graphic and choose which kind of projector is going to fit your situation the best. And I do think that the introduction to the Amazon video is probably the best video I have right now over each type of projector. I do still intend to do a further video on that, but we haven't gotten there yet. All right, number 2. Don't expect it to be a super quick process the first time you set up your projector. And it might be, it could be, but if you go into it with the idea that, oh, this is going to be super quick and easy, then you're kind of setting yourself up for failure. Here's the thing. It might take you a little while to set it up that first time, but once it's up, it will save you so much time. You will get quicker at setting it up if you intend to take your projector down every time, and there are certainly some things you can do to make it a little bit easier, like having a mount for your ultra short throw or keeping your tripod set and just moving it out of the way. But allow yourself some grace when you're doing this very new thing for the very first time. Expect it to take a little bit of time, expect it to take a little bit of effort. Slow down. Follow the process step by step. I have a video over setting up a UST, a short throw, and an Amazon projector, and there is a wonderful, comprehensive calibration guide created by Sasha Sewist over at the Projectors for Sewing Facebook group. You can do this, and I don't want you to be discouraged because people have some serious dread about calibration, and it's really not usually so bad. But if you are expecting to be able to set it up and jump right into this big project that you have due super soon, you might not be setting yourself up for success. Number 3, don't do it alone. There are so many resources out there for helping you set up your projector. There's a featured post right now in the Projectors for Sewing Facebook group that covers several of the options of ways that you can get help. So the Facebook group itself is one way, and they have amazing guides and resources in the featured sections. There is my website where I have a lot of information for you. There's all of my videos where I have a lot of information for you. There is posting on the Facebook group Projectors for Sewing or on my Facebook group, Daily Sews and Stuff, where you can post and get feedback and get answers and get help. I will say, if you're asking a sort of question and you've already got your projector, take pictures. The more information you give us and the more that we can see, the easier it will be for us to help you. Phone a friend, like there might be somebody that you know that already has their projector set up, and if so, ask them for help. People who have done this before can be a great resource. The next part of that is Missy Poor, the founder of Projectors for Sewing, has a service where you can pay a small fee and do a Zoom call with her, and she will help you set up your projector. There are lots of things out there for you, and you do not have to do this alone. Find the resources that work best for you and use them. Because so many people have gone before you and figured this stuff out, you don't have to figure this out on your own. You can kind of follow in our footsteps and use the information that we're giving you to make the most of your DIY setup. Number 4, don't get defeated. So a lot of people expect that this is going to be a really super easy process, and then they hit a few snags, and then they get really frustrated and give up. Or there's people who get their projector and then they get taken over with what I have coined calibration dread, and they're afraid to even open the box and try it. And it makes me really sad because I love this so much, and I think that if people will try it, they will have a really good experience with it. But you've got to get past the calibration dread, and you've got to get past that first setup to actually using it before you realize the wonders of it. So do what you need to do to push yourself past that initial defeat. Ask for help, like I've said. Find the resources that will be helpful to you. And if you start and you get stuck, ask for help. Keep going, push through it. And if you need to take a break and come back, do that. Definitely do that. You want to be in a regulated body before you start doing something new and difficult, right? But don't get so defeated that you walk away and you never come back to it. That's just so sad, guys. And it's a waste of money, and it's a waste of the time you've already put into it. And number 5, this one is really important, but I put it last because I really want it to stick in your brain. Don't forget to prep. This harkens back to number 1, don't jump in too soon. This harkens back to number 4, don't get defeated. Because if you can make sure you do this, you are going to set yourself up for so much success. So my little sub points here. Start with a flat surface. If it can also be level, cool, but that's not such a big requirement as flat. If your mat is warped or wavy, do what you can to flatten it out or replace it before you begin. The shorter the throw of your projector, the more important it is that your mat is totally flat. And yeah, that did rhyme. There are some things that you can do. You can look up videos. A lot of people suggest wetting down your mat and then laying it on your driveway so that it can have sunshine to dry. If your mat is warped, go look up the steps you can do to flatten that mat before you jump in anywhere else. I feel like I can't stress enough how important having a flat surface is before you begin. Another way that your surface may be not flat is if your table has a leaf or is a folding table that has a hinge. Anything that means that it's two pieces of table coming together, they might not quite be flat. A really quick and easy test for that is to get a marble and put it on your surface and see if it rolls around places. It'll show you your dips and valleys pretty quickly. So do what you can to level that out before you jump in. Does it have to be level? Not completely. If it's level, that helps. But if your house is not quite level, then just make sure your projector is also not quite level, and that works out. It doesn't have to be level according to the bubble on a level. It just needs to be level to your table. It's a relative. But your table, your surface, your cutting surface, your mat, needs to be as flat as you can humanly make it. A suggestion there would be to go get some MDF or particle board, or probably not plywood, because plywood also tends to be warped sometimes. It could be a hollow core door. It could be any number of things that you can find at a hardware store that are completely flat. It might also make sense to go to a thrift store and buy one of those kitchen tables from the 90s that seem to be everywhere at thrift stores right now, that have those really nice flat tabletops. You can make your own. My husband made me my table, and it actually does have a leaf, but he designed it so that it won't have a dip. So lots of choices that you can do to make sure that you have a flat surface to begin. And once you've got that flat surface, everything else will be so much easier. Also, make sure that your mount is sturdy, or whatever sort of solution that you've come up with to project your projector from. If you are using something found in your house to set up your UST, like in my setup video, cool. A cardboard box is probably not the best choice, because those tend to bow. You want it to be something sturdy and strong that can hold the weight of your projector and not bend or bow in any way. Books work great, binders work great depending on the binder. Building yourself a mount, which we've also done before, is great. Something that'll just be sturdy and stable. If you're using one of the ball joint mounts for a Amazon projector, making sure that you put some sandpaper on that ball joint to help hold it tight, making sure that you have your cords contained in such a way that the weight of your cord isn't moving your projector. Lots of tips that you can take to make sure that your projector is going to stay where you put it when you mount it. I will also say, I think that short throw projectors are the absolute hardest projectors to mount. They are hard to mount. They are hard to mount in a way that is stable and steady. But once you get it figured out, they are my absolute favorite projectors to actually use. Make sure you've got all the necessary cords before you begin. Look at your projector, see what sort of ports it has. Look at your computer, see what sort of ports it has. If you want to do it Wi-Fi, make sure that either you've got an Amazon projector that is already capable of using Wi-Fi. Bluetooth will not work for this, it must be Wi-Fi. Or that you've got some sort of dongle attachment adapter thing like Amazon Fire, Google Cast, what is it called? Chromecast. There's other options, and I don't even know all of them off the top of my head. But there's little devices that you can plug into an HDMI port, if your projector has an HDMI port, that will make it work. You can also, with a lot of the Epson projectors, use a USB-B to USB-A cable, like that would come in a Cricut or a printer. It's got kind of a square end on one end and then the normal duck bill looking flat rectangle one on the other. But you want to make sure you've got all these cords or other solutions before you start. That way you don't get all excited and get raring to go and then there's nothing to do, because you actually have to connect the two before you start. And then lastly, know your offset and where you're going to mount it relative to your table. So here's a big thing. Projectors only project landscape. If you're thinking that you can put your UST on the short side of your table and somehow make it project portrait, it won't. You can raise it up high enough that you can only use the middle third of your projection, and in that way make it work. And you can rotate the pattern within the program that you're using, but you cannot make the light go from a rectangle like this to a rectangle like this. Doesn't work. There's not any projectors out there that I'm aware of that have that capability. So you're going to want your projector, whichever kind it is, to be on the long side of your table, like parallel with the long side of your table. I have this really campy illustration I made about offset. I hope it explains it. I think I go over it a little bit more in the Amazon video again. But the bottom line is this: different projectors have to point from different relative places to your mat. So you just want to make sure before you start that you know where your projector is going to need to go. If it is an Amazon projector, it is likely, not guaranteed, but highly likely that it's going to need to be centered above your table. If it is a short throw, it might need to be centered above your table, or it might need to be kind of at the edge of your table. And if it's an ultra short throw, it is definitely going to have to be at the edge of your table. So look into that. The easiest way to figure this out is to just turn it on. Turn on your projector, shine it at a wall, shine it at your table, whatever works for you, and test it out yourself. Figure out exactly where it needs to go before you start drilling holes in your ceiling. And so also where you're going to mount it. Relative to that, you also want to make sure that you're mounting it somewhere secure. I did a whole video on that about finding studs and why it's important to find a stud. But the point is, you don't want a projector hanging from just the drywall of your ceiling, because that is a recipe for disaster. You don't want a projector hanging from just the drywall of your wall. Again, recipe for disaster. But making sure that you know where it needs to be relative to your table and that there's a secure place to mount it will really set you up for success. We've got our 5 don'ts here. Let's recap. Don't jump in without a tiny bit of research first. Don't expect it to be a super quick process the very first time you do it. Don't do it alone. Don't get defeated. And don't forget to prep. If you can make sure that you've done all of these things, if you can make sure that you've started with that little bit of research, you know what you need, you know where you're going to put it, you know how you're going to put it there, you've got all the stuff that you need, and you've got it all gathered together and you're ready to start when it's time to start, that will set you up for a lot of success. And again, let me just say for the umpteenth time, the flatter your surface is, the better it's going to be. This is not me saying that you need to obsess over every single tiny little bumpity bump on your table. Please don't hear that, and please don't think that, oh, I could never. But remember that the shorter the throw, the flatter the surface needs to be, and the more you can do to get your surface flat before you start, the easier your calibration will be. Definitely remember all of the resources that are available to you and all the people who are here willing to help you get this going. Take courage, take the first few steps, ask for help when you need it, and get your projector going. I can't wait to see even more people with their patterns projected onto their fabric, ready to sew. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. Definitely leave me some comments, like the video, subscribe, share. Also, I'm over on Facebook and on Instagram. I've been trying to build up on Instagram a little bit, and I do some more kind of behind the scenes things and show more of my actual sewing and little moments like that on Instagram. So I'd love to see you over there. It's daily sews and stuff. There's a link in the description box where you can find me. Thank you, friends, for watching this video. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Keep watching my videos, like, subscribe, and comment.